do that. All right, guys, there's a couple of dry fire drills that I got to show you, a couple of important ones, because we're just doing the doubles, and there's a couple of things I want to hit. So first, like, you're noticing the sight move around quite a bit. Right? Now, this is where the difference between awareness and focus is really important. Like, I want to stare at that black spot on the target. But just because I'm focused on that spot doesn't mean I'm not perceiving what the sight's doing. However, I'm not psychologically focused on the sight, because if I focus on the sight, then I'm just going to perceive red all over the place on the brown thing. All right. To work on this, or to highlight this, we'll let you all get a chance to try this in a minute, but I'm going to take my gun and point it at the target, and then I'm just going to squiggle, like move my wrist around like this. Okay. I want to do this intentionally, focused on the black spot, and then also focused on the sight. Okay? So if I focus on that black spot and I wiggle the gun around like this, what should I be perceiving?
Sight moving in your peripheral?
Yeah, so to me, I'm connected to that black spot, and the red is going all over the target. I can tell when it's in the C zone. I can tell when it's in the D zone, but it's very uncomfortable. It's like it's everywhere, all over the target. All right, but again, I'm connected to this. Now, if I actually stare at the sight, stare at the red and move it around, it's very disorienting. Like, I can perceive brown behind it a lot, but I can't really tell you where exactly on the target it is. Right? This difference is really important. Now, what's hard for guys to wrap their heads around is, like, when I'm focused on the target properly, I'm going to perceive that my shooting is worse. Is that?
Say that again.
If I'm properly target focused, my perception is that the shooting is worse. Mm-hmm. So what I mean is, if I'm focused on that red, as it squiggles around the target, shooting rapid fire, I register brown behind the red every time. Right? I'm like, it's good, 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 good. It always looks good. I always register brown behind it. But when we score the target, they'd be everywhere. Right? However, if I'm focused on this spot and I'm shooting aggressively, I'll perceive like the red is way off to the side. It's like, that looks horrible. Pull the trigger, and it's just in the C zone. Do you get what I'm saying? Have you guys experienced this with red dots?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it where you're just like, oh, like, that seemed so much worse than it was. You walked out there and looked, and like, oh my, it's not that bad. This is like the hard thing with red dots is, like, when you're doing it right, it feels worse, right? If I'm doing it wrong, I feel good until I look at the target. All right. So we'll have everyone try that. It's a very useful exercise. Another thing we're going to do is the trigger control. Okay. Now, we can do it different ways for different systems, different platforms. But here I'm going to take the shadow, just put the safety on, aim at the target, and then reef on the trigger. You can see my fingers coming all the way off the trigger. Will this set the shadow off? Am I pulling the trigger hard enough?
No.
Yeah, this I'm definitely pulling. Like, look, doesn't take much pressure. Doesn't take much pressure. So I'm reefing on the trigger, like 2-3 times the amount of pressure it would take to set the gun off. Okay, now I'm just going to hold the gun properly, aim at the spot of the target, and do that. Press. Now, the idea with this, that type of trigger control, like very aggressively pulling the trigger, that kind of thing. The idea with that is I want to see the sight blip left. Initially, when you start dry firing like this, you should be replicating what's on the targets. So if we have a target like this, like if this is your target, and you start doing this dry fire drill, your perception should be that the sight's blipping left and low. Why? Because that's what you're doing when you shoot live ammo. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see you're doing that. Mm-hmm. Right? So first, I'm going to accurately simulate with dry fire what I'm doing with live ammo, which is pressing the trigger aggressively and pressing down on the gun. Once I'm simulating that, I put my brain in my hand and try to work through it. All right, just hold the gun still press it hard, press hard, press hard. Just don't move the gun left. Very consciously focus on the pressures in my hands. Does that make sense? Simulate what you know is happening. Work on it, dry fire, right? And press the trigger really aggressively. Keep the pressure steady in your hand outside of your trigger finger, and it's going to help center up those hits. So those two drills: squiggle the gun around, eyes focused on the spot of the target, and eyes focused on the sight. Learn what right looks like, learn what wrong looks like, and then aggressive trigger control like this to learn to pull the trigger fast and straight. Make sense? So I want to do like 5 minutes of dry fire on these couple things, and then we'll do doubles again. We'll see how it goes. Good. Thank you.